I'd like to start by thanking Miss Catherine Impey and Mrs. Isabella Fivey Mayo for sponsoring my tour throughout Britain this year. With you, I have found sisterhood here in ways I have yet to experience in my home country. Like many of you, I am an active supporter of women's suffrage. I work across race and class boundaries for the full enfranchisement of all women. It's not easy to do this in America, as Black women are often excluded from activities organized by white women. We have been locked out of conventions on women's suffrage. And when we are included in activities such as marches, we are told to keep ourselves at the back of the procession. Black men want our energies to be directed at fighting racism, while white suffragists want our numbers, but not our visible presence. The security of the ballot will no doubt give us all greater protection than we now enjoy. Can we all agree on that point? Since the end of slavery, my people have gone from being considered high-value property to being a source of every imaginable threat to American life, especially in the South. Our labor is paid pittance in comparison to white workers, yet we are the source of poverty. We take others' jobs, and yet we're also condemned as lazy. We can't be trusted, but we are still relied on to nurse white infants and cook and clean the most intimate white settings, their homes. Prevented from using white institutions, we build ours for our own community, only for these to be burned down to the ground. I have been in Britain for several months now, so I know to begin by answering the question I'm always asked from Dublin to Edinburgh to London by aristocrats and domestic servants, washerwomen, miners, and teachers. No matter the social class or time of day or night, I'm always pressed with the question, where are you from? Then in almost the same breath, what brings you here? I have been in Sheffield for 2 days and have been asked these questions numerous times. This, despite Britain being a place with an enormous empire, an empire larger than any other the world has known. The sun never sets on the Union Jack, does it? I am here in part because Britain was there in British colonies that became the United States. It was not so long ago that American independence broke close ties, then reformed those ties into close economic partnerships. Even through independence, my country boasts strong economic and political, even cultural ties to Britain. I am here as I need your help, your mighty influence to right a great wrong. That wrong is the lynching of my people. Just the other day, I was asked by a chambermaid at my lodgings, what is lynching? I explained to her that it is a mob execution of persons without a trial. Without a trial? Yes, I said. They kill men without a trial in America? And I looked from her strong working woman's hands to her surprised eyes, and I could see in them not just incredulity, but also puzzlement as to how a country hailed as a place of opportunity and promise, rough but expanding westward, a veritable promised land. How could it also be so lawless? And she said to me, setting out a bath towel very carefully on the bed. And I once again thought about how Britain was the main importer of American cotton. "There must be a reason," she said. And she bobbed a little curtsy, her eyes downcast, as she left me to contemplate the reason. In 1892, just last year, a black business in Memphis, Tennessee, was attacked, and the owners, Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Henry Stewart, were all lynched on trumped-up rumors. But the reason for their deaths was that their store threatened the monopoly a white-owned business enjoyed. I investigated the story, as did other journalists, and once holes were exposed and lies uncovered, my own newspaper offices, the Free Speech, were torched. And I'm alive now only by accident, not design. I live in exile in New York. Since then, I have become an expert in this gross and indecent business of lynching, traveling throughout the country, interviewing those brave enough to tell about what they have witnessed, also collecting news stories of these events from mainstream and other black newspapers. I have studied how lynch mobs are formed. First, there are the supposed transgressions of black individuals as a common rallying lie. There is then the assembly of a mob. Third is the seizure of the accused. And finally, there is the gruesome ending with the public physical torture and murder of the victim. But as time and lack of lawful intervention continues, lynchings have now become public celebrations of a violent white supremacy. Lynchings are in many places in the American South occasions for picnics, family outings involving women and children. Photos of hangings and burnings are sold as postcard souvenirs. This is the truth of American civilization. I implore you to use your voice, your influence, to put a stop to this brutality. Point to it and condemn the state that ignores such crimes. A black woman can be lynched for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the rumor will be that she set fire to a barn or poisoned a white woman she cooked for. And yet the reality is, indeed was, as this is a true story I am recounting. For you see, the unfortunate white lady was killed by her husband, not her black cook. As for the threadbare lies of black male lustfulness, the thinking public will not easily believe freedom and education more brutalizing than slavery. And the world knows that the crime of rape was unknown during 4 years of civil war, when the white women of the South were at the mercy of the black race, which is all of a sudden now charged with being a bestial one. We are not the beasts. Look at us. We are, as you call us, mulattoes, quadroons, octoroons. This did not come about by black men's access to white women. This mix of our blood was during slavery, when white men had the power, indeed the legal right, to do as he pleased with his property. and neither the slave woman nor her enslaved husband had rights to protect her person from any white man's violation. When you consider the white gang's use of genital mutilations, botched hangings to ensure the most agonizing of deaths, the frenzied shootings, the use of hot tar, of assorted knives and hammers and hungry dogs, you must ask yourself, who really are the beasts? Today, entire families can be lynched, have been lynched for disputes over nothing, but which end not only in death, but in the unlawful confiscation of that black family's land and property by a white neighbor. Again, I ask you to do what is right, to pressure the United States of America to punish lawless mob murders. I have been investigating and reporting on these matters, not only in Tennessee, but in Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia. Lynching is spreading like a wildfire throughout the South, and we need strong laws and the enforcement of law to stop these attacks on my people, which is fast becoming a scourge on the entire nation. I have noticed through my study of history that America cares deeply for its reputation abroad and for its trade relations. America will listen to Britain, and so I bid you to please do not spare America's blushes in this matter. It has been said of my lectures that nothing more harrowing has been for years related from a British platform. In fact, I am in danger here more for the graphic nature of my public speeches than for my color or sex. However, there is no use coming all this way to ask for your support without you knowing what I'm talking about. And there is no use me performing for pity or sympathy. I am a journalist, and I use my words carefully, with precision and restraint. Some people marvel at my steady composure in the face of such cruel events I impart to you. You do not need to see my emotions. It is you, the British public, and your representatives that need to emote and to act. Again, I implore you, asking you to remember how you stood alongside Frederick Douglass when he was a runaway slave, and how you gave him shelter and helped him purchase his freedom. I have done my work. I draw on your nation's leading role in abolitionism, your zeal for reform in many areas of life. Write letters to your leaders, religious and secular. Sign petitions. Do what you can to draw attention to this horror. When I share the facts of specific cases, all verifiable and in the public record, with even the names of the white perpetrators protected by the local elite published, it is not to titillate or gratuitously shock you. I keep it graphic to focus the mind so you will act from your conscience. And remember, these accounts dovetail with the facts, graphic and pitiless, that are recounted in the white press in America. My work is to connect these vile practices to the new laws on segregation in public settings like restaurants and streetcars. My work is to connect these practices to the repeated nullification of the Black vote. The terror of lynching is not mindless. It serves a purpose. And that purpose is the concentration of economic and political power in the hands of a few. For you see, the truth is, while Black people are by far the majority of victims, white people too have been, are being lynched as well. In 1891, 113 Blacks were lynched, but so were 71 whites. In 1892, 161 Blacks were killed, but so were 69 whites. Whiteness is not a shield against mob rule. Many white people have been lynched because they would not go along with the lawlessness, the race hatred stirred up against their Black neighbors. Black communities have waited for the authorities to act in the matter of lynchings and to bring lynchers to justice for years. No attempt is made to do so. And as a result, the Black population has begun to leave cities like Memphis by the thousands, bringing about great stagnation in the Southern economy. Yes, we are leaving the American South in great waves. The region will lie undeveloped and backward, feudal and dependent on corrupt and inbred dynasties that rule with terror and hateful of federal oversight. Those Black people who elect to stay will take up their self-defense and the use of boycotts, but their lives will also depend on a truthful and robust free press. What can you do? Raise your voice. Use your influence. Stop the lynchings. The world is watching America, and it matters what you and your country, an old and respected nation, does with its power. Will you hold your key trading partner and ally accountable for its barbarism? Will you hold them to a standard that aligns with human dignity and the rule of law? Or will you stay silent? Thank you for your attention and your support.